Welcome to Unit 1, Lesson 3. This is the final one of Unit 1 before a sketching lesson next lesson. So lesson structure by this point you should have a pretty good idea about. So we'll just crack on, and you've got your worksheet open and learning all things about people, culture and society, and some really interesting things about different graphics, different meanings behind colour, different technologies, market pull and things like that. So just pushing forward really. Understanding the market is one of the most difficult parts for designers and manufacturers, because we think about design and technology as a route into industries such as product design, industrial design, and these designers need to think about how they can respond to client needs, but also try and push new technologies onto the market. Talking about needs and wants really of clients. So there's two things to think about here for people, culture and society, and how new technologies work. We've got new technology, and this is the idea that of the term technology push. So this is when new ideas and new technologies and new digital technologies are pushed onto the market, driven by research. This is not really in response to customer wants. This is to put your designs out onto the market straight away, and can bring its own benefits. So this could be a new technology developed by Apple. If Apple were the first company to develop this technology, they could get a huge customer base. They could promote brand loyalty. They could even get patents on their designs so that people cannot copy them. And people can kind of buy into the fact that they're the original ones that made these designs, thinking that they might actually technically be better. As a result, these companies can have increased sales. So that's technology push. That is pushed onto the market by a company. Market pull is slightly different. This is consumer driven. So an example of this might be with regards to GoPro or other companies with cameras. It's when product ideas are produced in response to market forces or customer needs. So examples of this might include how cameras get developed. They might become smaller, more lightweight, might need a new lens, and better performing as it is in response to what clients and customers want. So you can have a little think through these slides as we go. There's another case study here about Philips lighting. So thinking about, is it a market pull or is it a technology push? And then we're talking about consumer choice. So how does technology push or market pull affect consumer choice? Another example of a market pull force, the kind of definition of it would just be demand or anticipated demand from consumers. It could be a desire to increase a company's market share. So that should be enough information to kind of interpret and have a go at questions 1. And then we might think about question 2 as well. So you can probably answer those 2 questions. For question 2, I'd be thinking about the source of materials, how they are produced, what moral and social issues could come as a result. You can hold fire on question 2 as I go through the rest of this PowerPoint. So for the idea of people, culture and society, the evolution in the development of materials, technology and fashion has driven different design trends. This could be different design movements, different design styles. For instance, away from technology, we could have different types of architecture and design movements, such as the Bauhaus and modernism. That could be a different example. Designing products to solve problems can mean a different thing in different areas of the world. So culture can have quite a big impact. An example of this might be furniture in Japan is going to be a lot different because they have it in their culture to sit on the floor at meal times. So designers have a much different problem to respond to than those that might be in the UK. Colour and layout. Cultural issues can affect the way information is presented and understood. We might think of certain colours as an indication of certain kind of signals. So do we think of red as meaning stop or danger, but other cultures might think of it as wealth, luck and happiness. So it's always thinking about inclusive design of various target groups. Icons. We can think about how they translate across different avenues. In terms of text, so in terms of typography, in terms of graphic design, we're thinking about, are we moving from left to right? How we design something, does it have a hierarchy? So where do our eyes immediately get grabbed to when we think about that? That's linking to that as well, left to right. And then we're talking about society. So society all over the world perceive language, actions and products differently. And that is that idea of colour, reading from different sides. And whilst in one country a product may be very popular, and in another it may not be well received. Example of this is talking about ethical issues for products. So a case study of this would be the Polymer, the new £5 note when this came out. This has been out for a while now, but it contained tallow, which is a substance derived from animal fat. So this actually upset some groups all over the world, really. And as a result, the Bank of England might have come under fire. And that's just an argument that you need to be thinking about. With regards to that, we're talking about being inclusive for our designing. So we could be designing specifically for a certain group, might be for the disabled. An example of this might be helping out with your question 3 on your worksheet. How could we design specifically a new supermarket so that it avoids negative impact on minority groups, including the disabled and the elderly? Could be thinking about things like signage, how they're going to access it, facilities, different design of products that you might interact with it at a supermarket, like trolleys. Those are all things thinking about inclusive design. That should help out with question 3 a little bit. And then we move on to different religious groups as well. So that links to the polymers. But different religions will have different beliefs as well, and that can produce a little bit of overlap in terms of that social, moral, kind of an ethical argument. As we go through the whole design process, products are going to go from a sketch. That's the first instance on the back of a little bit of research. As you have your first sketch, you will develop it, as you do in the workshop, as you have done for your lamps project. You might incorporate new materials and technology, and think about that. You'll develop those designs, and a really useful way to do it is 3D printing. We're really lucky in the department with the 3D printing facilities we have. Fantastic way to get a good prototype of original designs and see how they work. These printers are being used in fantastic scenarios, new living organs, and the possibilities, I don't think anyone actually really knows how far we can go with them quite yet. There are issues with the 3D printing as well, as a prototyping way of developing design ideas. Always something to be aware of here. And they just need to be used in a suitable way. When these companies have their new designs and they've got their new products, and they might be applying for patents, so you can think about products like Dragon's Den. They're thinking about, how can I get some money, how can I start my business? We think about crowdfunding. So there are different ways that you can virtually market your product to have people engage with it. So this might be a social media campaign, it might be a viral online video, it could be search engine optimization, so you are further up on those results lists on Google and other search engines. GoPro, for instance, really cool brand. There's a cool video here if you want to have a look at it, just showing all the kind of things they do. They want people to engage with the fact that nothing is impossible, and as a result they have quite viral and extreme videos, and it's a way of people remembering that brand well. They could use virtual and augmented retail as well. That's a way of getting ideas out there. And then when people buy into certain products and companies, there's different ways and reasons why they might do. Cooperatives are the type of businesses which are basically organizations or businesses that are owned and run by its own members. They basically enable a group of people with the same business interest to have more control over their business, and they are a cost-effective way to sell and market goods and services. They do protect their members because all the members share the profits, and they ensure fair business terms and conditions apply to all of those members. You can have a look online as well for some different examples of cooperatives. And then also with regards to that kind of social argument, you will have heard of fair trade and probably things like fair trade coffee, fair trade bananas. This is the idea that it's better prices, better working conditions for anyone involved in that process of getting that source product to the person that buys it, specifically for farmers. And we're thinking about, as a case study, you can think about bananas. So it will get more money to the farmers. People that buy these products know that they are getting better prices and people are having better working conditions and being paid correctly for their work. It supports local workers. It's a good scheme in terms of that. And people buying fair trade goods means that goods have been produced by these farmers and they meet those certain conditions for environmental, social and economic conditions. So that is basically that unit. I would have a go at questions 4, 5 and 6, and you can have a go at the extension if you want to as well. It's quite a common question at the end of your exam, and it also links really nicely to the coursework. But go through those and then edit your files accordingly. And then that's the end of lesson 3.